Activist, poet, songwriter, comic, and performance artist Bob Flangan has cystic fibrosis and has outlived the doctor's predictions of dying at 6 years old. The condition fills his lungs with phlegm and blocks his air passages with infections, causing constant pain and suffering. With the support of his wife, dominatrix and performance artist Sherry Rose, Bob Flangan comes to incorporate his sexual masochism into his performances, short films, and sense of humour, taking back control of his body from sickness and the fate doled out by God itself. This is Kirby Dick's unflinching and deeply revealing documentary, Sick, The Life and Death of Bob Flangan, Supermasochist. Chronicling live performances, short films, intimate moments of vulnerability during hospital visits, and asking Bob Flanagan's family confessional questions, all with Bob Flanagan's permission. This documentary is a collaborative agreement between lovers, between artist and documentarian, to display absolutely everything possible within Bob Flanagan's sexual expression and his physical decline towards death. An excellent union of suffering expressed with fantastic comic timing that demonstrates how to take control over one's own existence. Bob Flangan is never shy about showcasing the extent he enjoys pain as a relief from cystic fibrosis, an adrenaline sexual high that offers only relief once the BDSM comes to its end. A warning beforehand, with images of nails hammered into genitalia, knives carving into Bob's skin, piercings, tuggings, bruisings and bloodshed, this film is not for the weak of heart. Bob Flangan is nothing short of amazing, living his life to the fullest. Even though he lived beyond the expectations of medical professionals, to die at 43 is still a shorter than average lifespan. While we witness the excruciating detail of his physical performances, the graphic art installations, and the tongue-in-cheek S&M films he and his wife Sherry Rose produced, Kirby Dick's documentary centres primarily on Bob and Sherry's relationship, and the toll this sickness takes on their expression of love. In sex, Bob is often submissive and consents to the domination that Sherry provides. While viscerally uncomfortable for many viewers, this form of sexuality is how they extend their trust, their servitude, their communication, and their love. To provide this level of gratification requires fully knowing somebody, their wants, needs, limitations, and desires. This marriage, grounded on a healthy foundation of sadomasochistic appetite, becomes the basis of performance art, photography, and filmmaking for both Bob and Sherry. Bob injecting his own self-aware sense of humour into his work as a poet, filmmaker, and songwriter. It's Bob's sense of humour that often disarms us from the otherwise shocking explicit imagery that he and Sherry create together, providing a further reclamation of himself. His body is reclaimed from sickness by enduring the pleasures of a pain more intense than his cystic fibrosis. His mind is reclaimed from the anticipation of death by finding the absurdity, self-awareness and comedy in the pain he's come to enjoy. Nonetheless, Bob's cystic fibrosis is also depicted as taking a real toll on Bob's mental health, his marriage with Sherry, and how his sexuality diminished in his final months. Kirby Dick never shies away from the reality of this condition: incessant phlegm, lungs flooding, a weakening physical state. Bob's depression is presented to us with a deep honesty that isn't easy to witness, but it's truthful and necessary. For all of Bob's achievements, it's heartbreaking to watch him wish for a different life, or just for death to take him as soon as possible. Initially hiding away his BDSM leanings due to the anxiety of what it would mean if his enjoyment of sexual pain was discovered, Bob became thoroughly proud of who he was, and his experience as a masochist came to inform much of the work he did. In an interview with Bob Flanagan's parents, his father admits he views his son like a trapeze artist. You can't look away, almost in shock and horror, yet you feel an immense satisfaction and pride in the completion of the performance, as if Bob's performances are a rejection of every obstacle God has placed in his path. This is a deeply life-affirming attitude to view Bob Flanagan's life through. Bob's sickness presented many challenges to his personal life, and yet still, he managed to find pleasure in the body and life he was given. In an ultimate rejection of the barriers cystic fibrosis presented, Bob Flangan is shown as an unconventional philanthropist. a camp counsellor full of warmth and humour at a cystic fibrosis camp, a sense of joy that would let young campers know they're not alone in their condition and struggle, and in providing support for a Make-A-Wish candidate, teenager Sarah, who, when she turns 18, is supported with getting her first nipple piercing. Also living with cystic fibrosis, with the understanding she will likely die in her 20s, Sarah relates to Bob Flanagan's masochism less as someone who wants to experience pleasure and pain herself, but more due to the sense of how cystic fibrosis feels like a lifelong restriction, an experience of submission to sickness. The contrast between the two isn't all that alien. It becomes clear that Bob Flanagan's experience with cystic fibrosis and how it spurned on his own enjoyment through pain becomes an unconventional source of inspiration that many viewers may find light within. Fuck the limitations of your body, of your mind, of a pearl-clutching society. Seize your own fucking day and create something spectacular. In conclusion, Kirby Dick's documentary Sick, The Life and Death of Bob Flangan, Supermasochist, is an unflinching yet loving testament to a man who reclaimed his bodily autonomy from the limitations of sickness. He experienced love, found the humour in his pain, and lived a sexually excruciating ecstasy that many of us will never experience. We might not want to share Bob Flanagan's own literal experiences, but what we can gain from this man's life is how he reclaimed everything he could, challenging the odds that were stacked against him each time. The final moments of Kirby Dick's documentary are emotionally devastating, and you likely know what that inevitably entails. These final moments, shot and photographed by Sherry Rose, demonstrates how love transcends the barriers of physicality. That time will come for all of us eventually, that it will be okay to go when we need to. These moments are heartbreaking, but Bob Flanagan and Sherry Rose wished for us to see them, to see what cystic fibrosis does, and how even emotional autonomy cannot be broken down by death. Cystic fibrosis may have claimed Bob Flanagan's physicality, but it's love that claimed his life. A special thank you to my incredible tier Patreon supporters Gil, Jared Spears of Concessions, Javier Grillo Markswatch, and Keith Gaylor, and to my super tier Patreon supporters Spodzilla and Eclair.